the very first step is for us to be able to take the time to reflect and really think about our strengths. Think about your strengths and where you want to be in your career long term. And I would say almost meditate on this for 5 minutes, every day. And it takes a long time to truly come up with understanding what your strengths are and what you really want to do. um, you may think that you have a certain idea, an aspiration, but truly to understand your strengths, it's a process of arriving at your strengths and what where you want to be in your career long term. So once you have reached that point, what experiences or skills do you need to get there? That is a gap, almost like a gap analysis that you can do. um, One of the other tips, right, just as you're starting off in your career, is to make connections. Make connections, make real relationships with people. Be an opportunity maker. Now, what does being an opportunity maker mean? You don't want to be surrounded by people that always agree with you, because then we become a little bit more rigid and extreme when we do that. So opportunity makers are actively seeking situations with people that are not like them. Everyone gets along with people who think like them, who talk like them, and who share common ideas. But where you can distinguish yourself from the rest of the world is to not just be with like-minded people, but be around people who don't think like you. And opportunity makers build relationships because they can do that. And they have, in your career, you'll see this reflect many, many years down the line. You of the future, you can have, when you build these relationships where you can have diverse points of view, and where you can argue and debate and come to a consensus, you can bring in the right team, you can recruit a right team, you can start your own company to solve a problem better and faster and seize more opportunities. So opportunity makers don't shy away from differences. They are actually fascinated by them, and that is somewhat of a huge shift in mindset. And once you feel it, you want to happen it a lot. You want it to happen a lot more. So the world is calling for opportunity makers to have a collective mindset, and I truly believe in doing that. And it's especially important right now. Why it is important is because we live in a very divided world, and debating our differences calls on us, each of us, to a higher calling. So build those relationships, make real connections with people as you're starting with in your career. If I had to go back, many years back, if I had a time machine and I had to go back, this is what I would do to position myself for even greater success for a future me. And the third point and the third tip, as you're starting in your career, is always have a learning and growth mindset. Always continue to learn. Always, be hungry to learn from people, learn from experiences. Money will come. Money will come with education and learning. Um, but with a hunger for learning and making connections, you develop a growth mindset. And the last thing, be humble always. Always remember that you're a learner, and always operate on the assumption that your only role in life is to learn. And success comes to those who are humble, those who have humility, and those who have a hunger for learning. So these are the biggest tips that I would give to all of you as you're starting in your career. So I spoke about, meditating on, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are on a daily basis. I encourage you to all think about what you're good at. It's easy to just, come out with an answer right away when someone asks you this question. Um, But it really, really takes a lot of contemplation, a lot of meditation to understand what you're really good at. You need to, the only person who knows you well is you. So think about what you're good at and think about what you love doing. And this is super important because you may have, again, you may have an aspirational goal, but that may not be what you truly love doing, that truly brings you joy. And again, a path to a successful career is not always about making the most money. Always, I mean, you've heard many people say, follow your passion, but we'll come to that in just a little bit, why passion alone is not enough. Um, and then I encourage you to think about what you would get paid for. What would you want to get paid for? Um, in an ideal world, all of the above would converge, right? But it's not always the case. And what does the world need? That is another big gap. You need to be solving for real world problems. What does the world actually need? And these are all deep questions that I encourage you all to meditate on. The reason why I ask those questions is because what we define as passion is basically an intersection of what you're good at and what you love. What we define as our mission in life is what an intersection of what we love and what the world needs. And what we define as our profession is what we are actually good at and what we get paid for. And vocation is what the world needs and what you can be paid for. Now, if you have two or three but not the other, it creates somewhat of an imbalance. You can have satisfaction if you have, two of the traits. Like if you have passion, and if you're if you have a profession that you love or you get paid for, you get a satisfaction, but you can have a feeling of uselessness. And if you have a mission in life, and if you're passionate about that, it gives you immense joy, but perhaps it will not bring you any money. And all of this is like super important to have a complete balance, um, to be able to really truly experience joy in your work, and this all ties into the career path that you choose. Um, I mean, growing up, I think it's quite common that most people have set career paths. It's either because our parents wanted us to pursue something, or or we we as young people with young minds didn't know um, didn't know otherwise, right? We were given an option to either choose be a doctor, or choose engineering, or choose science. Very few people chose something totally out of the box, right? So I encourage you to not only think about the set paths that you hear about, but think out of the box and truly meditate on these, to understand what your true passion is, true mission is, and what you would like to get paid for. So I want to talk a little bit um, about failure. You are going to fail. That is failure is a part of shaping your career as you move forward. If you haven't, unfortunately, our society looks down upon failure. Always, I want you all to remember that failure is relative, right? If you're getting 95%, in an exam on a subject, that may be considered a failure because the neighbor's kid got, 99%, and you got 4% lower. Um, if you haven't failed, you haven't learned. I personally have failed more times than I'd like to admit. And I'm not talking about small failures. I'm talking about the kind of failures that kind of rock your world completely, altering the landscape of your relationships, perhaps your finances, and even mental well being. So, failure is life's greatest teacher. So, it makes us humble, and it enables us to grow to be stronger and more resilient. Um, Without failure, we'd be less capable of compassion, empathy, kindness, and great achievement. And we would be less likely to reach for the moon and the stars. And It's through failure that I've learned the greatest life lessons. So this is something that I want you all to remember as you move forward and progress in your career. With that, I want to quickly talk about innovation and how we innovate at Google. Um, so what is innovation really? Uh, I've tried to make it as simple as possible. Innovation is to make complicated things less complicated, make it easy for the user. Innovation is to make expensive things cheaper. Um, and At Google, we believe that it's impossible and possible to solve like big real world problems with innovative solutions, right? So I wanted to share with you all. Again, this is not content that is widely shared. You will not find this in Google for things. Um, this is again very exclusive. So we use a set of 8 principles, and of course, a whole lot of computer engineering, computer science to help us. So, firstly, like I mentioned, have a mission that actually matters. Again, a good example of this is the idea of Gmail began with one person. One person envisioned this idea because they truly had a mission to make um, the users have communicate better and have access to more information. And today we have, I mean, this is probably really old stat. We probably have way more than 425 million users. This is from like 3 or 4 years ago. um, think big but start small. It's important to learn how to scale. At the same time, it's important to have a big vision. So I would encourage you all to continue to pursue your dreams, have big dreams, but always start small and work your way up and work you and scale. Um, and third, strive for continual innovation, not just instant perfection. This is super important because um, if we always have a perfect view of ourselves, and we 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 are sometimes the most critical. We are our biggest critics. So we always desire instant perfection. Like I have to do a job, just the right way, the perfect way, and anything other than that is considered failure. Um, but perfection doesn't come with one shot. So strive for continuous innovation. Take baby steps, but eventually you'll get there. And look for ideas everywhere. Ideas are all around us. Don't subscribe always to somebody's, you don't have to work for a corporate company if you don't want to. Um, if you have, I'm sure each one of you is perfectly capable of coming up with your own ideas and scaling your own ideas. Perhaps we are looking at the next Larry Page or Sergey Brin in any of you. So look for ideas everywhere. Be open, and again, that learning. If you have that learning mindset and the growth mindset, it's easy for you to spot ideas that are out of the box. And share everything. I say share everything because, like I was mentioning, it's easy to get along with like-minded people, but when you share your ideas with people that you think may not fully agree with you, you get a different perspective. And it's super important to be able to understand where the different perspectives and be able to shape your ideas as you move forward. And lastly, uh, spark your imagination, use your imagination. I say fuel with data because um, all your assumption, all your ideas should have some form of uh, um, data or a mathematical basis. When I say that, I mean you should be able to build a business model if you have an idea around it. For example, all your decisions must be driven by assumptions and data. So spark with your imagination, have an idea, and follow through with good rationale and reasoning. Last lesson that I learned from Google is be a platform. Google is a platform. We think of platform as just an Android is a platform. We think of platform very differently in the computer science world. But I look at platform as an enabler. What that actually means is, just taking Android as an example, right? A few people believed in an open source mobile platform, and now we have, again, this data is from 4 years ago. We have 2 billion plus users in Android around the world. So this platform was an enabler that has enabled more people to uh, to have access to the data that they need. It enables education. So you're not, when you spark an idea, you're not just thinking about an idea for yourself or a small group of people. You have the potential to lay the seed for a fruit that will probably be born many, many years down the line. And the last thing, I mentioned this again, I'm reiterating this: never fail to fail. Failure is okay. Failure is normal. If you've never failed, you've never learned. So this is, again, a very important kind of philosophical philosophy that we believe at Google. Failures are celebrated. We learn from failures. We fail fast and we move on to other things. With that, I want to talk about some career paths. Who works at Google? So I'm a technical program manager. I can tell you a little bit about what I do day to day, and I have a few other kind of roles and work profiles that I thought you all might want to know. In no means is this an exhaustive list. There are so many more things that people do and are equally celebrated for. These are just to give you an understanding of the people that work at Google. What are the most common kind of roles that they have? So as I said, I'm a technical program manager. I own end-to-end program for my business, program management for my business unit for every feature from conception to launch. How you get here? Well, you have a computer science or an equivalent degree, or a business degree is also equally acceptable. By the way, these are just conventional paths that are followed. This by in no means is meant to deter you from the path that you want to pursue. Degree, after a while, degree is just a name, it's just a title, and it does not mean a whole lot. How quickly you want to learn, how well you build relationships with people, and your attitude, right? That's all matters ultimately. Like, say, you in 10 years, that's all matters. And then there is a hardware engineering role, where we design the next generation hardware for our users. So we have people that have electrical engineering background, mechanical engineering background, and in general, I've seen computer science engineers too. At some point, they have pivoted to being hardware engineers because that's what they're truly interested in. They are builders. Software engineer, I don't want to, like, you all know, you're all probably you have a computer science background. For those who have arts background, there are, again, plenty of opportunities. We have user experience research, for example. We have UI design, UI interaction. The user experience research team conducts user studies to understand the user and gauge the usability of new features, for example. Again, the career path here is that we have people that have various backgrounds. We have people with arts backgrounds. We have painters. We have people that have a psychology background, people with human-computer interaction background. And then there is product managers who drive product development from conception to launch. Um, these are people that envision the roadmap for a specific product or a feature, and work on basically execution and delivery of those products. And then there are these some other, I guess, non-conventional roles. We have sales, we have marketing, we have partnership teams, we have business analysts, for example. All of these people do very have different niche roles, and they come from a variety of different backgrounds. We have people that have fundamentally degree in mathematics, for example, um, economics, accounting, or any other quantitative field. We have a variety of, I mean, we deal with data, right? So there is a lot of opportunities there in terms of being, an analyst, or even user facing, user designer, user interaction researcher, and things of that kind. And data scientists too. With that, I encourage you all to think about the world ahead of you. How do we create a place and a meaning for everyone? And this is just an example. So this is a real like story from one of my colleagues here. Um, Again, just going back to the principle, just always be aware of your surroundings. When she was 16, um, Abby, she was volunteering with a young child with some physical disabilities, and she kind of noticed the lack of opportunities there. And she she went on to create an after-school inclusive youth movement in Israel for children with special needs. And she started with a group of, she and her friends started this nonprofit. And today, this has more than 3,000 members and 30 branches all over the world. And she's a Googler. So um, these are the kind of people that, inspire everyone. And we can all aspire to, including myself, we can all aspire to look out for each other, look around us, and solve problems for the world and what the world really needs. With that, I want to leave you all with a quick video of the driverless car. This is one of the projects that I worked on personally. And again, I wanted to show this video because I thought this was such a wonderful example of innovation. And even 10 years ago, we only imagined driverless cars in sci-fi movies. I had never imagined that 10 years down the line, I'd be working on one. So I encourage you to dream big, and I hope this video would inspire all of you. This is one of our very first self-driving car prototypes, and you'll notice this person getting out of his home, going from point A to point B, and you'll soon realize that this person is almost fully blind. And these are the kind of technologies that truly help the community and truly help people. And you can come up with these kind of ideas only if you look around you, if you can empathize with people, and have a sense of humility for our environment and people around us. So perhaps I can cut the video short. I can send the link offline because there's a lot of narration that happens in the video that probably folks can't hear. With that, I am super thankful. Thank you so much for you and your institution for giving me an opportunity to address our next generations of the next generation of thinkers scientists, innovators, and rulers. Thank you so much.